Hi, it's Dr. Ference here with UPMC Lifestyle Medicine. I'm going to do a culinary medicine session today. We're going to make a hot pot. A hot pot is a unique way of cooking. It's actually a Korean dish where you cook vegetables, proteins, perhaps some noodles, all in very hot broth. And you can use a variety of different broths. I like to use a ginger miso broth that I buy prepackaged. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of that, but what I'm going to do is actually cook my onions, kind of saute them up first, but using the broth instead of the oil to do that. So I can soften these up before I add the rest of the broth. I have my pan preheating, which is why we got a lot of steam there. Cooking and sauteing in broth is one of the tricks we use to avoid using the more calorie-dense oil. So sometimes you just need to have some broth nearby and add a little bit at a time just so your vegetables don't stick. So now that my onions are softened, we'll add the rest of the container. And I'm not going to give you exact amounts. This is particularly a recipe that I go by taste and what I decide I want to put in it that day. We'll provide a recipe down below as well for some further suggestions. But there's really not an exact amount here. I'm also going to add, I have a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of ginger and 2 teaspoons of garlic. So we'll add that to flavor the broth up as well. And I even buy that frozen in almost a little ice cube kind of containers. Obviously you can buy that fresh, but I like to have it available. And then we'll let this come to a boil, but I like to season it a little more. This is sriracha sauce. Depending on how hot you like it, will be how much you put in. We don't like it super hot, but we'll add a little bit for a kick. And this is some Bragg's aminos to give it a little more of a soy sauce taste. But again, the broth already has some sodium, so if you're watching sodium, you may want to use a low sodium broth and not consider adding. But luckily, Bragg's aminos versus soy sauce has less sodium in it, so you're saving a little sodium there. But just going to probably doing about a tablespoon or so of that. And we will let that come to a boil, and then we'll add our vegetables. Well, now we have the broth that's coming to a full boil, so we're ready to go. The key is to cut all your vegetables very thin. And kind of time. If certain things take a little longer to cook, you want to put them in first so the other vegetables or items don't become too mushy. I think in general the carrots will take a little longer, but I buy pre-shredded carrots. They're already fairly thin. And again, I'm not doing specific amounts. I'm going to do a handful or so of shredded carrots, maybe 2 handfuls here. Get them cooking. And then what does take a little bit of time is the rice noodles. These are brown rice noodles. And about 4 ounces, I think, is what I'm adding here, 2 servings. We'll add those and kind of stir those in. Okay, and we'll give the rice noodles a minute or so. And I'll show you what I have for my other vegetables. I have zucchini cut very thin. And then this is a mixture of shredded kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, green cabbage, and red cabbage. I get this at Trader Joe's. They call it cruciferous crunch. Cruciferous vegetables are very good for our immune systems and inflammation. So I'll add this and just kind of, it's going to take a little while to cook down and get in there. But I'm going to use the whole packet there to get all that goodness in there. So we'll just cook that down and incorporate that. Once that's cooking down, I'll add the zucchini. And then for some protein today, I'm going to use a combination of some tofu, and I buy some pre-baked marinated tofu. These are the ones that I pick up at Trader Joe's. There's a teriyaki flavor or sriracha flavor. I happen to have opened one yesterday that's teriyaki, so I'm going to be using that up. And I'm also going to add some edamame. Edamame are legumes high in fiber and in protein. So we'll be adding those. You can also add some very small pieces of chicken, some shrimp. Other proteins would go very well in here. And in fact, they sell hot pots that you can put, you know, electric ones, I suppose, that you can put in the middle of your table so that people can sort of add the things themselves and cook and all enjoy a kind of meal together. I don't have the luxury of having one of those, and just find this a little easier. So this is all cooking down, which is good. We will add the zucchini, because zucchini doesn't take very long to cook either. And just really give it another minute or two. I probably will taste to be sure that the noodles are done. That's probably the most important thing. That usually takes about 5 minutes or so. Okay, and I'll go ahead and add the tofu. We're not going to really overcook that. And the edamames, they happen to still be frozen, so it'll take a minute to defrost, kind of right in my hot pot. And I'll show you a picture of the finished product.